fellow Earthlings, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of And Another Thing with Dave. I just kind of wanted to do a personal introduction to this episode. A thank you. It's kind of a year-end episode. There's going to be two more episodes in the year, and Freedom Rain is going to be my guest wrapping up the year. I met him on the Stereo app, and I'll read his bio right here. Freedom Rain, Oakland, California, music, poetry, elementary teacher in graphic design, individual thinker and destroyer of narratives. We get into it about why education is not free in the U.S. This is going to be a great podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all the listeners from throughout the world. We've got listeners from India, the United Kingdom, Canada, Romania, the Netherlands, Russia, Thailand, the Czech Republic, and many more. Thank you so much. I am humbled. All right, let's get into it.
Having, just like I was talking about distant learning during this pandemic, having options and abilities for hardworking Americans who are already working to the bone to be able to earn a college degree on top of that is not a bad thing, first of all.
No.
Second of all, we need to stop letting corporations like Walmart and these big corporations get off with paying us less and then we need to blame each other for that. Oh, well, if all of us didn't have college degrees, we'd probably be getting paid more. Like, we need to stop letting them get off so easy. They need to be, the cost of living in California is so high that needs to come up anyway. And I don't think what you're saying, Joseph Nelson, is you think there should be less people with college degrees. But I think you're saying like it should remain, like the barrier should remain in place to make sure that it's still hard, so it kind of regulates and make sure the market isn't oversaturated with people who are intelligent and equipped. Like, kind of get it, kind of don't get it there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with him and I don't agree with him, right? Like, I think, if you're going to pay for your own college degree, then go ahead and get a worthless liberal arts degree. But if you're going to,
Oh no.
you know what I'm saying? That's going to lead nowhere except for a job at Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Come on, let's just be real. If you want to
Yeah.
go out and just get, whatever, but if you want to be on on a certificate program or on an apprentice, and here's what we really need is an apprenticeship
Yeah.
program, right? Like, how about a job that leads to a job with the city that you live in? Bam.
Bam. Then you're not worried about markets and oversaturating. You're not worried about competition so much, because this is the thing I was going to ask you. And this is why a lot of people, even everyday people, you and like me and you, would argue against college being free. And I think Joseph Nelson might do that too, is they're saying that, for example, if you've already paid for your college, they say if you make college free now, what you're doing is you're giving me more competition that didn't have to work as hard or pay as much as me, who doesn't have the debt to get paid as
Well,
much as you're basically giving me more competition. Why did I have to pay and they don't? So I hear a lot
I
of people
understand that.
dug in there. Yeah.
I understand that, but my answer to that would be, if you're gonna get free college, you can't get a frivolous education that's gonna go nowhere. It's got to
Mm.
be a career track thing. Like,
Uh,
what do you want to be, a teacher? Okay, boom.
mm,
Here's your early childhood ed classes that you got to. Here's your prerequisites. Start checking them off.
mm-hmm,
You know, and
mm-hmm.
you better keep your grades up. Otherwise, guess what? The funding's cut. So you got to
Yeah,
be committed, man. You got to be
that's
in.
true.
You got
Yeah.
to be in. You got to treat it at least as serious as you do your shitty job, right? Come on,
I agree with that.
right?
If you went to school and you got your master's and you're in debt, and now all of a sudden college is free, and you see all these other people coming up getting masters for free, well, guess what? College is still also free for you. So now take your ass back and get a doctorate. Nah, I'm just
And
kidding.
get
I'm just kidding.
right
But why not? Like,
in something that's useful, something
it's
that
something
right,
that's useful.
something that'll get
Absolutely.
you out of Starbucks, right? Like,
And I do agree, though, if college should be free, I absolutely feel like there should be debt forgiveness. Period.
oh God, yeah, hell
You
yeah,
know,
because it's
those
already
two
it's
things go hand
already
in hand.
paid for. because it's already paid for, like
Yeah.
I said, in future taxes. So all we're talking about is people like Betsy DeVos getting rich. So fuck
Oh
those
my
people.
God. Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
them.
cancel all student debt immediately. But what do
Cancel it.
you think about apprenticeship programs? Like I had a roommate from Europe, and he was telling me in Europe they pretty much they suss you out right around high school grad, and like, okay, if you're not college material, they just flat out let you know. If you don't pass the test, well, guess what? You're not going to college. But you
Yeah.
can go to a training program to be a carpenter, a plumber, a roofer, a bup da bup da bup da bup da bup da bup da bup, which
Hmm.
directly leads to a job with some dude.
Right. Less
We don't have
unemployment,
that.
more people working. And again, these are
Yeah,
people I mean, there's so many jobs where people get paid for moving digital assets, like literally moving zeros and ones. And of
right.
course, that's absolutely crucial in a digital ever digitizing economy, but we need to, especially as America's talking about bring our jobs from over shores. If we bring jobs here that a lot of these countries like China are used to doing all this manual labor, and you give it to Americans who are used to or want to
They
get
don't
these
want to do
jobs,
it.
or they don't want to do it. So what you said is absolutely true. Choose a path, a field. You get that pathway paved for you. Stick with it, and apprenticeships get jobs. This I get why people say, "Oh, I don't want college
Right.
to be free because I had to pay." And I'm in debt now. And now that I'm out of debt, I spent a lot of money, and I don't want my job to be, I don't want to have
But that
competition with people.
But that's a
Hmm.
me attitude, right? That's not looking at what's best for society. That's
Yeah,
me, right? So
yeah,
we got to
yeah.
think I understand it, but we got to think bigger than that.
Agreed.
Cuz
All right, let's.
I had to pay. Granted, I got a good deal. It was only like at one point when I started going to the JC in San Francisco, it was $5
Mm-hmm.
a unit. So that's affordable, right?
Oh, yeah, that's
But
pretty good.
then it got up to $45 a unit.
Holy shit.
A unit, right?
That's
And
crazy. And you have to have
a
12
class is three or
units.
four units. Right,
Exactly. And to have a full schedule is like 12 units, 10 to 14
right,
units. That's a lot
exactly,
of money, people.
dude.
That's not even talking about
For
books,
somebody that's on
transportation.
their own in their 20s
Yeah,
paying rent and all, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so all of a sudden they made it where like, oh, daddy's got to be paying for it
Yeah, yeah. And then who does that benefit? People who have
that
parents who
don't really
can
need it,
that
right?
don't really need it. And then the working class families that need that access. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and it's really me. We got to get out of that. And like you said earlier, this is an
Mhm.
investment in our future, in our country. And honestly, this generation, like my students who are fourth through sixth grade, let's say, dude, we've taken enough from these kids. We've fucked their social security.
Oh my God,
We've
right? Let's pay
ran
it
over
forward a little bit,
the
a little
planets, the
bit,
natural resources. We've screwed these children so much. At least give them free college and no student debt.
at
Eh,
least
are you kidding?
so that they can hopefully stop the rising sea levels of global warming. Dude, I just watched a program last night that was saying all of West Oakland is going to be under like 2, 3 feet of water, like in our lifetime.
Oh shit.
Dude,
Oh
not
shit.
to, me- not to mention San Francisco, Mill Valley, San Jose, Fremont,
That's
Newark,
gonna put
right?
it's gonna put a new definition to the phrase Bay Area.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
All right, let's hit some of these ditties. Let's go. May the poet.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that I'm working 2 hours longer than the average person? Well, doesn't that
Yep,
suck?
yep.
I'm
Your
working 12
ass
hours a
fucked.
day and you're saying it's supposed to be 10 hours a day? Well, doesn't that really
Oh
suck?
shit.
I'm sorry. I need to
Oh.
really, like, manage my time.
Mmm.
We're
I'm
getting
kidding. I love what
paid.
I do. But wow. Education is key to a lot of people lately. It's failing a lot of people too, I noticed, but
Yeah,
it seems
yeah.
to be that the more educated that you are, the less availability you become. I've tried not to do that with education.
Mm,
I've always told people, hey, if you want to be a teacher, I've always like basically applauded them for it because I think teachers are the heart and soul of this country, and they are
mm.
doing such an amazing service, and they're being so overlooked. And not appreciated. And I just want to say thank you if you are.
Thank you for saying
Oh
that. I
yeah.
really appreciate that. I hella appreciate that. And I think
Hell yeah.
going back from distant learning to in full school, I'm gonna just say this in 30 seconds, man. It's like during distance learning when we had this during quarantine, it was like love the essential worker and teachers who are used to that. When we came back in the summer to physical, but we were still bridging, my class of 33 students was split into 15, and we saw the first half of the kids from 8:30 to 12, had a lunch break, and then we had the other 15 to 17 students from 1 o'clock till 3:15. And to be able to spend that much time having one-on-one and small group lessons, really focusing on the kid, the shorter
That's
hours for the
awesome.
kids was much more manageable. They got to go home early and have more time to work on their stuff, do their interests. They would come back to school the next day refreshed. It was so cool. Of course, we had socially distanced and masks on, but all of a sudden at the beginning of this school year, even though in the summer there wasn't a surge, then there was a surge in California. Now my classroom had 35 students packed to the brim, full day, no accommodations. It switched that quick back into, all right, I know you thought that was nice, now get back to it. So yeah, I
Right.
appreciate you
Now
saying
shut
that.
up and
And
get back to work.
yeah,
Now,
basically.
now, and on top of that, let's look at the scientific studies that have shown that a kid needs a break after like 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
So you're,
Uh-huh.
so you're, so as a teacher, and you could probably tell me yay or nay on this. Do you think if you taught a kid for 4 hours, do you think you could teach them more information in a day than in a long class because they get all fidgety and they're not going to remember shit and
Abs-
attention span?
Absolutely. And one of the things we've had to do, I don't think a lot
It
of
is.
parents or people know, is that a lot of the things we've had to do returning from quarantine into full days, y- like the fears that people had of students losing their social abilities and getting screwed, like that didn't happen. But I can tell you, we've had to take what is called body breaks, and we had to punctuate the day with breaks because kids are just not used to being cooped up in a classroom that long,
Right.
um,
Right.
and focusing
Not
on one
not
subject.
healthy.
It's not healthy, and you don't really realize it until you've been gone. And just like a teacher, there's so many things we just took for, oh, this is what it means to be a teacher. After
Hmm.
quarantine and doing distance learning, we come back and was like, no, this shit's kind of crazy. And I think the students are feeling that same thing. Is like some of the shit is kind of useless and crazy. So I think it's a good time for us to reevaluate and see what works and what doesn't. These kinders, because I taught kinder at this school for 3 years, these kindergartners are coming to school at 8:15 and getting out of school at 3 o'clock. That
What?
is ridiculous. I really feel
That's
like, I think
crazy.
that's crazy. And what is
That's
that?
crazy.
It's a full work day for these kids. I remember when I was in pre-K and kinder, class was like from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something like that. You've got
Oh
these
yeah.
little babies away from their family for a full ass
For the for
six
the
hour
first
day
time ever.
for the first time. Oh, it's crazy. So yeah, there's some things that need to be reevaluated. But then our good friend Betty DeVos was like, nope, get him back in. We need that ADA.
That's it. And oh man, I can't agree with you more. Shorten the day
Shorten the day.
and and focus on like what scientific studies and biorhythms show
Yeah.
us like about attention spans. Like, if kids pay attention for 2 hours at a time, take a 10-minute, 15-minute break every 2 hours.
Right. And yo,
And
we were getting in digital learning, we were getting so much work turned in. They would either take
right.
a picture of it with their device or turned it into this platform called Seesaw. Bruh, it's now
So
we're well into the school year. Kids aren't well, the kids who are some kids ain't turning in shit because they're
mo-
overstimulated. They're back socially with their friends. They're getting
right.
it's crazy. It's like they're less productive in school.
And I wanted to comment on distant learning too. That
Yeah,
should
yeah.
never go away. That
No,
should
it
have
should always be an
always
option.
that should have
Yes.
always been an option, and it should
Yeah.
be an add-on. You should always be able to do extra credit You
Yep.
should be able to get, like for me, English came easy, but math was a bitch, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, for me
for
too.
me, I got, you should be able to get through whatever you can get through. Boom, but boom, go ahead, knock yourself out, tear it up. And then
And
like
there, yeah.
you can get help like personally with the things that you struggle with, right?
Exactly. And there's some kids who have had who historically had a lot of behavior issues, getting in a lot of trouble, even suspensions. These kids
Hmm.
during distant learnings were fucking aces, turning in works. They were super regulated. And now when we bring them back into here, they're having a lot of these issues. And again, yeah, well, this is fourth through sixth grade now. So yes, there is some point to, yeah, you have to learn to get through it and manage and build your stamina for that. But at the same time, it's pulling teeth for the kids and the teachers. Give this kid an
Hmm.
option, distant learning
Right.
on Mondays, because Mondays are hard for you. Distant learning on Monday. I'll see you Tuesday through Wednesday. Distant learning on Friday. Or distant
Oh,
learning Monday, Wednesday, come turn in your work physically Friday. It's so
there you
much,
go.
it's so much strategy.
Exactly. And then you
It's
get tutoring like on the, one-on-one or whatever, or a small group, more
yeah.
likely, right?
Or
Small
Zoom.
group, small
No.
group tutoring, even Zoom tutoring
Yeah.
for the topics that you need help on, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that. And that
Man.
would have been so much more beneficial to me
Yeah.
looking back, right? To be able to
Oh
reach out
yeah.
and be like, hey, I got a question about blah.
Yep. So much more digital. I think honestly, and no shade to the parents out there, but I think a lot of the pressure for us to return to in-person learning was parents, obviously
Oh
because
God, yeah.
parents have a work schedule. So
Right.
unfortunately, a
Right.
lot of this depends on the fact that both parents are working in these
Hmm.
in most of these households, and or if it's a single parent household, even more so is that it's a lot of pressure was to go back. It's like, look, I need you to take these fucking kids full day because I I
They're
need
driving me
I need them
crazy,
out
right?
the house. Yeah, they're driving me
Yeah.
crazy. So I
Um,
get it.
but let's get real. Like,
Yeah.
we need a systemic change, right? This whole thing of like
Mm-hmm.
since the 70s when we did have single parent households
Mm-hmm.
as the majority, right? Since then, the only thing that's changed is CEO pay, and corporation profit, right? The average wage hasn't gone up at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're told just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, all these little acronyms, all these little slogans,
Sayings and slogans. Yeah.
but don't look over here. Meanwhile, the Pandora Papers just got released, and we find out, the U.S. is one of the biggest tax havens in the world for
Bro, you read that
people to hide their
too?
money. Yeah.
Hiding their money like
Oh,
crazy. And then that's for the people who are doing offshore banking and all this stuff. Like the Pandora Papers release just showing it. And I couldn't help but notice that the Pandora Papers were kind of like, here, look at these guys, look at what they're doing. Just don't look at us. Because the people exposed in the
right.
Pandora Papers, they are rich, don't get me wrong. But we're talking about the top 1% of the top 1%. Their finances aren't getting looked at. You don't know these people's names, and their corporations are
Mhm.
treated as people with rights. So yes, we do need to
Exactly.
hold these upper class people, hey, pay your fair share. But at the same time, we're not going to jump on their head so you can keep doing your dirty, shady deals in the back, in the main back. you know,
That's
um,
it. And why don't we know these people's names? Because guess what? There's
mm-hmm,
6 companies that control all of our media now, where it used to be
mm-hmm,
like 291 different
yep,
companies.
yep,
So
yep.
the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, these families buy up all these newspaper. What's that guy's name? Rupert Murdoch
Rupert Murdoch,
in
George
Australia.
Soros. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Come out.
those types. They buy it all up, and then they can control what that paper puts out, right?
And that's so important. That I think that's such an important point to focus on. Is like you said, you can turn on the news and you'll see 30
Zero.
different news segments, right? And you'll say, "Oh, well,
On the
look at all this news. This must be free press." Dude, all of them are owned by 6 corporations. And then you turn on the radio.
yeah.
Oh, listen to all this different Clear Channel, bro. So you got to really understand who
And then it
owns,
repeats and it repeats and it
and it
repeats and it
repeats.
repeats.
And
That's the giveaway. No matter what station you're on, you're going to hear the same story. Isn't
Howard
that
Dean,
telling?
Yeah, Howard Dean is the first time I ever noticed that when Howard Dean was running for president. Am I saying his name or is it Herbert Dean? Whatever. And remember
I
they
think
said he
Howard.
was they said he's a flip flopper. Once one network said he flip flops on his, we can't vote for him because he's a flip flopper. And again, this
Everyone
is,
said it. Yeah.
oh my God, every single network was almost
Yep.
incentivized to use this chorus and keep repeating it. Like the second time, and this isn't stuff I read, this is what I personally heard. The second time was Joe the Plumber when it was
Yes.
when with what is her name now? Uh, the Alaskan. She was the governor of Alaska. She almost ran for
Oh,
president. Um,
oh God, what was her name? Yeah, I can see Russia from
I
here.
see her face too. I see Russia for her. When they did that around that time, when they did Joe the Plumber, bro, Sarah Palin, that was her name.
Yeah, Sarah
Around
Palin.
that time, blood, every network, oh, Joe the Plumber, Joe the Plumber. Hi, Dan the anchor. Everybody thought they were being cute and funny, but it's like people don't see how they repeat phrases like that to a crazy extent. So you're absolutely right. And Disney just bought some of Fox News, but don't be confused that Disney is supposedly a liberal, very liberal, and Fox News is really conservative. These people are toasting and at banquets together. The
Yep.
conservative versus liberal narrative is for you people where the rubber meets the road. It's an iron curtain for them.
Here it is.
TV station.
Here it
While
is, right
polls
here.
show Americans are increasingly worried about so called fake news, they also show that many trust their local news more than other sources. The largest owner of local stations in the country is Sinclair Broadcasting. A viral
Mm-hmm.
video of Sinclair news anchors has again raised concerns about.
Yeah. So that's a news story
Mm.
about it, and then here's the actual.
Broadcast group reaches over a third of homes across the nation.
Compromise plan for the controversial Kenesha Sin.
Most of us think of local news as just that, local. Stations run local stories produced and reported by local people. But if recently you tuned into, say, WVTV, which is Sinclair's station in Milwaukee, you saw
Mm-hmm.
this.
Does the president have to repeat that fact day in and day out for us to believe it?
That's Boris
No, he does
Epstein,
not.
former member of the Trump administration and now chief political analyst for Sinclair. And here he was.
So yeah, just like showing like
Rinse, recycle, repeat.
rinse, recycle, repeat. Exactly.
Right. Well, let's
Yeah.
get back to some of these ditties. We're still on the topic. We go off on tangents. Your
Let's
comments are
let's
making me
do
say that
it.
too.
Oh man,
So
we got
yeah,
some messages stacking up.
let's get it.
Let's get it.
To be honest, I went to college. I got a bachelor's in logistics and supply chain management and associates in digital film production. But I went because I was in the military.
Oh,
So the military paid for my college, paid for my books, and paid me to go to college, like not $1,900. Well,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much almost 2,000, like $1,980 a month, tax free to go to school. So I got that to go to school, paid for books, paid for tuition. So I'm like, yo, let's go. College to this shit run out. I used the fuck out of all those benefits.
Hey,
But
nice.
honestly, I would be very upset, very mad
oh yeah.
if I had to pay for college or went into debt for college. Because honestly, most of the people I know, my frat bros and all that, bachelor's, master's degree, I don't know many people actually using their degrees in the job they have right now. Most people don't use their degrees unless you're in select fields like lawyer,
Right.
nursing, education, where the degree is mandatory.
Right. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
point. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I was mentioning. Like if you're gonna get a paid for education, like by the state, then there should be tighter parameters, right? It
Yep.
should lead to a career path. You shouldn't just be able to study astronomy, you know, or
Right, and they
whatever.
were doing this for teachers if you were to help get your teaching credential, you would have to commit to teaching for 2 years in the district of the college you went to. Things like that
Right.
make sense,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and I think we can be creative about that. But I think
Hell yeah.
what's
But
coming
that's
up
a
in this
start. Yeah.
conversation is that we're getting a lot of hard no's and that's impossible and that'll never happen arguments from people in policy and even other people who are just kind of closed-minded who don't want to see that something else is possible. So I think there's many solutions, just like getting the money out of politics. There's ways, just like lobbying. You can't just say, oh, well, that's just the system, that's how it's always been, it'll never change. Like, who
Mm-hmm.
says that? Who says that?
Mm-mm.
People
A
who don't
lobbyist
want it to
does.
change.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, let's go. Joe.
Yeah.
Yo, don't say nobody wants to live in a Blade Runner cyber reality. Cause I ain't gonna lie, if I lost an arm, I would love me a cyborg arm. If I lost a
Mm-hmm.
leg, I would love me a cyborg leg. If I lost an eye, I love a dope ass auto tracking cyborg eye. You know what I'm saying? Before I grow old and die, I love them to transfer my brain patterns or my brain into some kind of synthezoid, synthetic human android vision type body or whatever the fuck. I love that shit. I ain't even gonna lie. Record my brain pattern, brain waves, whatever the fuck, however they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love that shit. Altered Carbon. That's that movie. Yeah, where they transfer you into different bodies. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. I like my existence on Earth. I'm a Christian and all, but I like living. So yeah, keep me around long as possible.
Hold on.
Well,
Let
there
me
you
say
go.
something about that. So look, first of
Neuralink.
all, yeah, well, first of all, the reason why most of us are so excited and willing to take that reality on is because of, just like you said, Altered Carbon. It's the movies, the video games that these six corporations and other big Hollywood entities are putting out. So it's predictive
Mm-hmm.
programming. They're selling you all the sexy things about this. Oh, if you live in this future, then you'll be able to
Right.
have, oh, you won't need eyes. We'll just replace them. And they're selling you all the fun stuff, right? But the thing that you really got to realize that is the common thread. In some
No
movies,
more
they have
trees.
cybernetics, and some they don't. In some movies, they have cyborgs and androids, some they don't. But one of the things that ties every single one of those movies together is no middle class. You have a very poor class and a rich elite class. You have corporations that run and rule everything. When you look in the skyline of one of these futuristic cities, what do you see? You see ads everywhere. You see cameras watching your every move. You see
No
heavily
trees.
military, no trees. You see heavily militarized police watching your every move and busting people in their mouth for speaking against the system. You have no
Right.
democracy. So they want to sell you all the little sexy things. So it's so easy to say, oh yeah, I want a robotic leg. But you're not understanding that there's no word that your child will ever utter in that future that won't be recorded and used against them at a point in time. There's no way to
Right.
systematically come together. You can't, in a lot of these futures, you can't having a group gathering and over 5 people is illegal in a lot of these systems. So that's why it's really dangerous when we watch these sci-fi movies that are about this future. You have to understand that, and another thing was saying, these aren't random ideas coming from, this is like Hollywood, for example, and other and specific people greenlighting and funding projects that sell you this sexy future of like cyberpunk, Blade Runner, Terminator, bro. But even in those movies like Elysium, there's a super, and even in the Time Machines, H.G. Wells, you have a Morlock, dirty, filthy, very poor, uneducated, forgotten, trampled
Other
upon
than.
people, other than
Other than.
who
You're not
who
supposed
are,
to care about them, right?
you're not, and they're the majority of people. And then
Right.
living above those gritty streets at the shiny skylines in the fancy condominiums is a very rich class. Now, Joseph Nelson, you
Bunch
want
of
to live in that
bunch of
future.
Swedish looking. Bunch of Swedish
Yeah,
looking
and
people.
everybody's dressing like Hunger Games, you know. So
Yeah.
Joseph Nelson, be honest about our socioeconomic, your our socioeconomic predicament in America. If that future was created tomorrow, where would you be? Would you be in the top of the high rise with your robotic leg and your cybernetic auto tracking eye, or would you be at the bottom of the gutter, amputated, sitting in a stack of newspapers? Like, don't let them sell
And
us
I
that shit, bro.
and see I understand that if you're the person in the high rise and you're okay with it. What I don't
Yes,
understand is people that aren't and still vote against their own self-interest and vote
say it,
for things that benefit the people in the high rise
say it.
that are eventually going to basically grind them up and drink them as a fucking protein smoothie.
Exactly. No trees, synthetic meat, GMO seeds, no food grown, everything synthesized, all
Yeah.
real jobs, automated. Like, bro, don't try to sell me with the auto track and eyeball,
Yeah. I,
JoJo. Don't get me with the eyeball.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
All right, thanks for tuning into another episode and another thing with Dave. Please follow, subscribe, and share. I'm on all social media and another thing with Dave. And keep seeking the truth.